Hi, I'm Harry Forbes from ARC Advisory Group. My guest is Darren Kimura, who is the COO of a new startup called ZEDEDA. Darren, it's nice to have you here at the forum.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's a pleasure. Darren, people probably aren't that familiar with ZEDEDA. Can you kind of tell us what you do in a nutshell?
Absolutely. So the first thing is ZEDEDA. What does ZEDEDA mean as a name? It means innovation in Moroccan, and our founder is from Morocco, so that's how we came up with the name.
Okay.
Now, what we do is we have primarily two different technologies. The first is an open source operating system for distributed edge servers. So these are like little servers which are running in factory floors, in distributed locations around the world, windmills, solar farms, those types of things. Mm-hmm. The second piece is a cloud-based orchestrator where we, from the cloud, control down to every one of those devices and allow for things like application management, monitoring, analytics.
Okay. And you're based on some open source efforts by the Linux Foundation. Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. So ZEDEDA came up with our open source operating system, which we call the Edge Virtualization Engine, or EVE for short. We developed it and contributed that to the Linux Foundation under what's called the LF Edge umbrella. So now it lives in Linux. It's a completely open source based technology.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the use cases for this. You've been involved in a lot of pilots and projects and things like that. What are some of the values that people are getting out of this technology?
What's interesting about EVE is it allows for us to run multiple applications on the same physical hardware sitting in that factory floor. And that's really important, especially as we look at digital transformation, where we have OT environments that are typically running older school applications based on, for example, Windows. Mm-hmm. And they want to modernize that with newer technologies using things like machine vision or artificial intelligence. EVE allows you to do that on one physical device, which is pretty cool.
So what you're doing is you're porting the legacy onto that server and then adding in other applications that are more modern?
Absolutely. And the applications are pretty much anything you have running in AWS or Azure now. You can bring all of that down, as well as the older applications that may have been controlling the robot arm or automation in the factory for the last 15 years. Bringing that together and making it easy. It's a one-touch provisioning type system, very easy to work with.
So tell me a little more about the orchestrator and the scalability of the offering.
One of the things we found was the organizations we work with are deploying not 5 or 10 nodes. They're deploying thousands, 5,000, 10,000 nodes, and it's everywhere around the world. So what we recognize is the need for a single pane of glass to be able to go down, see all of the devices, check the health of it, monitor it, look for software versions and lifecycle management, and be able to control it all from that cloud. And that's what we do. We allow for unlimited scalability through our ZEDEDA cloud, what we call the Z cloud.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what's going on for you guys in the future? Where are you headed in terms of your roadmap for the next year or two?
It's super exciting times. As we bring on more customers and we understand their needs, we're able to really address them more. So more applications, things like preventative maintenance, bringing more networking into edge computing. For example, firewalls, SD-WAN, very exciting stuff. Bringing storage into these distributed edge applications. So it looks more like your conventional data center, but now at the very far edges of the network.
So you, as I see, are a pure software company, but you must have some important partners in other areas.
Yes, and that's a great point because we provide software only, but we have to work with the hardware. So we have over 70 different partners in our vendor ecosystem, everyone from the largest manufacturers of physical servers down to the smallest, SIs, and everything in between.
Okay. Darren, can you tell me something about the vertical industries that you're working in?
You know what's amazing about edge computing is that these new verticals are coming up all the time. The ones that we see the biggest traction in right now are primarily in oil and gas, as well as industrial manufacturing processes, automation and connecting these independent devices now together. But what we're also seeing is retail is taking off at an incredible pace, a surprising pace, frankly. Things like video cameras and monitoring parking lots to where shopping centers should put, products on their racks. It's incredible.
Huh. That's very interesting and look forward to hearing more about it, Darren.
These are exciting times and we're so happy to talk about it.
Well, thank you. This is Harry Forbes from ARC Advisory Group. My guest has been Darren Kimura, who is the COO of ZEDEDA. Thank you for watching.